Zordon calling White Ranger and White Tigerzord. Evil Lord Zed has struck again. You must morph the White Tigerzord into warrior mode and be ready to fight. The Thunderzord assault team is on its way to join you. Together you will morph to become the virtually indestructible Mega Tigerzord.
Go Power Rangers!
Mighty Morphin, Power Rangers, grab the power.
Tommy's White Tigerzord is the first 6-Ranger Zord from Playmates toys, and it's a very interesting release. Despite being another combinable Thunderzord, this is a different approach to the Thunders. While they seem like a modern interpretation of the old toy, this feels like a modern interpretation of the collector's version. What I mean by that is it's much more realistically humanoid than the blocky original. They're different schools of thought, and it's strange to see them both side by side in the same line at the same time. So how did we get here? Let's talk about the White Tigerzord, starting with the toy history. As in the last video, he once again got his start back in 1993 as Bandai Japan's DX1 Tiger from Gosei Sentai Dairanger, with a subtle cookies and cream plastic finish, screen accurate stickers, and a gold chrome sword. It was pretty. Though all three of those elements would be changed out and cheapened for Bandai USA's 1994 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers version, Deluxe White Tigerzord. Though it still had the electronic sound and light effects, the classic of red background lightning bolt stickers would make their way onto the chest of the toy, with more red on the knees too. Bandai's Power Rangers version also had additional bells and whistles like an 8-inch White Ranger figure and an original Tigerzord power coin that didn't actually match the show version. So far in the Playmates era, the Tommy power coins have been coming with the roleplay stuff, the Dragon Dagger and now Saba. It makes sense for being in the same play factor. Bandai USA got a shot at making the Tigerzord all their own for their Legacy line in 2015. More humanoid proportions, die-cast metal, and lightning bolts banished for screen accuracy. It released nearly a year before the Legacy Thunder Megazord, and you definitely get the impression it wasn't as carefully designed to combine together as the originals were. Over the Pacific, Bandai Japan were hard at work on 2 updated versions of their own, the 2017 Artisan re-release, which re-engineered the original with paint detailing instead of stickers, just like Bandai Legacy, elbow articulation in warrior mode, also just like Bandai Legacy, and additional sounds from the Sentai show. Fair enough. They also made the 2023 Super Mini-Pla version more articulated than ever, but also introduced red decal overspill from the combined mode that you shouldn't be able to see in Tiger and Warrior mode. I sure hope no one copies that mistake. Oh hey, 2026 Playmates toys, distributed by Character Toys in the UK, combinable Thunderzord version. No diecast or electronics this time, but better articulation than some of those past versions, pre-applied stickers, though there is a lot of nice paint detailing too, red spillover notwithstanding. Unlike Thunder Megazord, there's no Flame Toys stylized collector's equivalent just yet, but I wouldn't put it past them for the future. We should also mention a leak in December 2022 that Hasbro were working on the Zord Ascension Project Tigerzord, but apart from an emblem on a slide, nothing more was ever revealed from it. It would have been at least $120 going off the 3 that they did release. The price of the Tigerzord has been an interesting one that's been like a roller coaster track. If you look at the deluxe version, that cost $30 back in 1994 and 5. The Legacy was up to $80 back in 2015. Japan's Artisan was roughly $128, but then Super Mini-Pla brought it back down to approximately $50. Now Playmates give us the best price version of all time. £30 in the UK and just $20 in the US, where he's actually been priced the same as the rest of the combinable Thunderzords. No 6-Ranger tax over there, I guess. But whichever territory you're in, this is the cheapest the Tigerzord has ever been. Original 90s deluxe Tigerzord price put through an inflation calculator today is £75 or $68. Perhaps you would happily pay that amount for that type of toy today, especially given the Artisan was practically double it nearly a decade ago. So Playmates have done some kind of White Ranger Tiger power to offer this as competitively as they have. If you've ever been on the fence about the Reignition line, this and the Red Dragon give you some crazy accessible ways in. They're Zords we don't see often and never at this price point. This makes the Red Dragon look like a great deal at only 20, but then the Firebird look like a terrible deal at 20. Should they be priced appropriately for what you get? Well, no, because then you end up in a mishap like the 2019 Beast Morpher Zord assortment, the first modern iteration at splitting out all the Megazord Zords into separate purchases, apart from the movie, and pricing them appropriate to what they could do. What you ended up with was some US retailers gravitating towards the lower priced Zords only, basically the Megazord appendages, so hardly anyone could make a Megazord as a result. So Playmates underpriced the Red Dragon, overpriced the Firebird, but then it all evens out when people want to complete their Mega Thunderzord. With White Tigerzord, you have a unique situation of it being outside of the main 5, although it is being advertised as equivalent to the Red Dragon. While I think you guys in the US are making away like bandits with this thing for $20, this is still a good buy at £30 because it's a 6-ranger Megazord, a Tommy Zord at that. It's been incredibly well crafted and it's so fun to transform. Onto the design, like the Thunderzords, we've once again got Chinese mythology baked into the origin of this thing. Designed around the Byakko, White Tiger of the West, which is one of the 4 symbols of Chinese constellations, the detailing features Chinese character style geometric lines and angular armor plates reminiscent of ancient martial arts gear. The head of the warrior mode apparently resembles a martial arts skullcap helmet, alluding to the fighting style of the robot perhaps. And his saber is curved like a Chinese Dao broadsword, another Chinese inspiration. Then in Mega Tigerzord, his face gets a new visor with a full-on crown piece like an ornate Chinese imperial crown. Basically, it matches what the Thunders started so well, drawing from the same Chinese mythical and warrior inspiration. What are the differences to the original? Well, it's strange how with every release I have, the box seems to get smaller. Yeah, the size is ironically the big one here. After Playmates started by making the Dinozords larger than ever, the main 5 Thunderzords the same size as the originals, here we have one actively smaller than what we've ever had before. They've obviously done this so that it can be sold on the shelf alongside the Thunders, although as someone who has grown up with previous versions, it's weird having Red Dragon and White Tiger be the same height. Ordinarily, the Tigerzord has been a head taller at least, and the limbs appropriately larger too. Speaking of Red Dragon, can he still ride it? Yes, though about as well as other releases. Better than Legacy, because there you had to keep his legs straight. Can you position his staff as a joust, as he does in the show? Somewhat. At least the black tail bit isn't as annoying and can be left detached without getting in the way. I'm sure people will compare it more to a cat than a tiger, but there you go. It's one light toy if you've ever handled the past versions, but I mean Legacy contained some diecast, so we shouldn't really be surprised by this. The shoulder decals are thankfully more accurate than the original, though they do appear on both sides now. Does anyone know if this is accurate? I couldn't actually tell from the show. In warrior mode, you do notice that his arms and head are a bit loose. Given how ratchety the Mastodon and Red Dragon arms have been, it's strange that they've just abandoned that here. They do currently hold where they're supposed to, but a strange development that breaks what we've started to expect from Playmates era Zords. Driven by cost savings, no doubt, there's a lot less red paint applied to places you'd expect it to be, like the back leg orbs and the round jewels for the sword and Mega Tigerzord helmet. As I often say, the detail is luckily there if you want to fix this yourself. The back legs / feet at first seem to resist with a lot of tension when forcing into a warrior mode position. I think I figured out why. I'll cover it in a bit. Compared to the original, we have a lot of great posability here, even in Tiger mode. The design of it is so much modelled after the Bandai Legacy, which, as mentioned at the outset, is strange when the 2 main Megazords we've had in this line feel much blockier and retro-styled. This definitely ignores the mould of the original Bandai Deluxe Tigerzord, perhaps because the electronics added so much heft to it and drew much more closely from the more recent Legacy version of the toy. Giveaways like how the legs are shaped, the slightly angled outwards torso, slightly awkward way it holds its saber, the ratcheting torso transformation bar, the tail insert method, and how the front paws into twisting hands have been realised or suggest a deference to Bandai's 2015 work, and that's not a bad thing whatsoever, because Legacy to me was a huge improvement over the original Deluxe, at least for its individual modes. There's a lot happening with the back legs. These feel very different to the original, but again, familiar to the Legacy version, which also relied on these new friction pegs in the backs of the knees and toes to lock the legs into each mode. Perhaps as a result of being modelled on Legacy, though slightly differently this time, with a friction bar rather than just side port friction, they still detach from the body of the Zord really easily, though unlike the Legacy version, isn't necessary this time round. And to the one sadist out there probably hoping to make a Playmates Dino Mega Tigerzord, that nightmare combination will thankfully stay in the last decade as a Zord Builder exclusive. One of the more peculiar aspects, again as a holdover from Legacy, is the decision to keep the slight pivot in the knee. It plays no role in the toy's functionality. It was arguably just there to add some slight idea of posability to the Legacy version when Bandai were experimenting with that a bit. You could suggest the same here, but it's weird because the rest of the legs don't support that motion. I guess you can try turn out the tiger toe to give it a bit more stability. You don't get feet for the Firebird like the original, you didn't with Legacy version either, though you did have to use an adapter piece for the Mega Tigerzord. Here they've resolved it by having a peg protruding from the Tigerzord's arm. If this was a collector's model I'd be annoyed, but it's a toy version for kids. It's going to enable them to always be able to clip the Firebird on, whereas those two previous Bandai versions relied on in-between pieces that could be lost and disrupted play in order to connect them. And it's not like we haven't been getting pegs sticking out of Megazords since Zord Builder started it in 2014 to 18 and Zord Link continued it 2021 to 2023. Mega Tigerzord's eye bar is red like the Sentai DX and Legacy versions before it, thankfully. There's no minifigure, weird considering the main 5 have had them twice over now. The OG Tigerzord had one, but I don't know why there's not a mini White Ranger figure here, especially given that we often saw him riding on top of the Tigerzord in Tiger mode anyway. He seems like a more pertinent figure to include than any of the others. Onto what's bad about it? Well, I don't like the 2 screws on the tiger's face. The Deluxe had one, and it was on the other side. Legacy had one there too, but covered it up with a screw cover. The annoyance comes from this is usually the side you have it on show, because that's how the TV show does it. I don't like the big gap between the legs where the tail pegs in. The original and the Legacy disguise this really well, and it's obviously supposed to pretend to be the solid back of the body of the tiger, whereas here, it's so obvious that they're separate legs. There's an excessive amount of molded and printed text on here that I don't like at all. It's possibly just a thing for the UK market, but a very ugly stamp of who produced it in high contrast black text on white background. Not great. That UK proxy.toys address, frustratingly, is most visible in Tiger mode. Design guys, please don't do this. And on the arm guards, you've got molded in left and right indicators, so every time the Zord transforms to warrior mode, you see those. Why couldn't they work out a better way of doing that? You can swing them out to the side to ignore them a bit. It makes me wonder if there was ever a plan to fill in those holes like they were on the previous versions. They must have known they would be really obvious. Another visual annoyance I have is that the red detailing that's designed for the Mega Tigerzord mode can be seen at all times and can't be shut completely. We mentioned Miniplast started this, unfortunately Playmates have continued it. And not only do they start too early, but they also end too soon. This is the first version I've got where the red turns back to white. Strange. And how's the connection of the Mega Tigerzord legs this time? Well, viewers that go way back in my videos will remember me calling out the Legacy version in my Zord Builder Compromises video, which did it appallingly. This is obviously trying to go back to the screen shown method mixed with the Legacy design. The silver leg caps can't enter the Tigerzord like the Deluxe original, but having watched the transformation at 0.25% speed, they don't enter the Tigerzord on the show either. I know, I was speechless too. Anyway, the silver thigh guards don't detach this time, so you actually fold them back inside the unicorn and griffin. Traditionally with the older toys you couldn't fold the heads back with these retracted. Here you can with the unicorn, and the griffin gets 80% of the way there but does stick out. A shame that it's so distractingly shunted forward. I don't love how initially fiddly the combination with Unicorn and Griffin is. On my live stream where I unboxed and combined these toys for the first time, I just couldn't work it out. Once you know, it's fine, but it's hard to understand at first what they want you to do because it doesn't seem logical. The toe needs to align to the next peg hole about 45 degrees, and then the rest of the leg needs to click into place, aligned vertical down. The legs can seem a little shaky, but generally, if you apply a lot of force, possibly more than most kids have the strength for, you can keep them properly attached. They basically click on the same way they do to the Red Dragon. Also, because of the action mode leg pieces, there's no gap between the upper half of the legs. It's weirdly distracting, and the combination would have perhaps been cleaner if they hadn't done those action modes. Similarly, the Lion's shoulder pad pieces that are a little raised for becoming kickstands in its own action mode really create shadows over the top of the Tigerzord's own shoulder pads. Again, a matter of scaling, where the Tigerzord looks undersized compared to the armor he now wears. The Firebird's always there attachment peg is annoying, and it's wrong by screen accuracy, as you end up twisting the arm around backwards to have it side mounted like on the show, though the arm guard should be here too. Also, one of the wing parts on my Firebird has gone loose. A quick turnaround to the other side of this argument of what's good about it, because I do appreciate that you don't need to remove anything to attach the legs this time. It really broke my heart on the Legacy that you had to pull off 4 pieces of the Zord and attach 2 adapter pieces just to combine Mega Tigerzord. Playmates have worked out a way to do it for all the pieces without taking any away or adding any on. I'm not sure about the angle of the toes, but you don't see the toes on the show, so maybe that's artistic license. Despite the gripes from the last section, realizing how close the leg attachment method is to the show is such a win for them. That's really impressive, and I also really like how solidly the Lion and Firebird attach in this mode. Their connection points have been thoughtfully considered to be most convenient to kids and rough play. If the original Mega Tigerzord provides the most satisfying transformation, apart from the Firebird, and Legacy Mega Tigerzord provides the best overall final look, apart from the jut out Lion and leg adapter gaps, then the Playmates Mega Tigerzord might just be the best compromise version. Once you get everything on, it's attached well, it's not coming off. We've not been able to say that with those previous versions, and it's fun to put them together. We've not had that for a while either. Now I know what I'm doing to attach the legs. I like it. They've done well here. The Tiger fits in really well alongside his Thunderzord compatriots, being the same size this time. The Tiger having that extra posability, especially in the hind legs, is superb. You can get some fun poses here. The opening mouth has a really nicely painted red jewel in there, more metallic than the rest of the red on the toy, works really well as one of the main attack features on the show. I also like the Zord to Warrior mode transformation too. Tigerzord has always been a fun one to convert, and this one is no exception. It's considered a bit of a classic of the 1990s because it's an easy, effective and enjoyable transformer. I think anyone can work out the Tiger to Warrior transformation. Playmates have again shown a good understanding of what made this thing good and combined it with the updated design language of the Legacy version to produce the most effective entry-level version of the toy ever. It's a version that's meant to be played with. It uses some ingenuity to correct the hind legs, the biggest weak spot from Legacy, as well as work out more suitable ways to connect the other 4 Thunderzords. And unrestrained by the Zord builder ports of the old version of Legacy, you can feel they did what was right for each separate connection point on this version. The next question would no doubt be, are the Combinable Thunderzords compatible with the existing deluxe Tor the Shuttlezord? And I would say, well, about as compatible as the Legacy versions were. White Tigerzord is definitely able to fit inside Tor. You could probably invite some other Zords to join him, and the Thunders, again borrowing the 94 sled, can sit up top too. Will Playmates release a more size appropriate Tor and sled? Maybe that could be a Kickstarter too one day. Until then though, don't rule out that 90s green turtle shell. I must end by saying thanks to ChromaBone for the comment suggesting opening the Red Dragon's mouth again for the Warrior mode. I gave it a try and sure enough it helped slim down the extrusion of the dragon's head from the chest, which in turn made the fit of the lion feel better, so you don't get such a pronounced bockety attachment in Mega Thunderzord mode. I wouldn't have thought of that. I've checked the instructions, they don't suggest doing that either. It must have just gotten lost in translation along the way from design to distribution. Always appreciate good ideas like that. Thanks again, ChromaBone. Do me a favor, help me climb the subscriber count here on Power Ranger Tube if you can. Like the video too, it'll communicate that this was worth watching and me making. If the Playmate surprises have now stopped for a while, I'll get back to the main video plan. It's a huge year for the channel. I hope you stick around and follow along with it all. And a big thanks as ever to the Viewing Glow Patreon members. They're about to see me try something horrible with the Lionfire Fortress. So until the next time, let me know your thoughts on the 6th Combinable Thunderzord release, and what Zords are you hoping to see from Playmates toys in the future. See you later.